And welcome back to On the Hash with Hatfield here on our streaming channel with the Virginia Beach Sportsplex and beachsportsplex.com. Also being checked out on Facebook, X, or Twitter, as people still refer to it, and virginiapreps.com. We're pleased to be joined by the head football coach of the Warhill Lions. He has led Warhill to quite a bit of success in his time there after previously serving as an assistant coach with the Woodside Wolverines with Danny Dodson. But Warhill looking like a contender, not just in the Bay Rivers District, as they have a huge matchup coming up on Friday over at Wanner Stadium against the Lafayette Rams, but certainly in Class 4, Region 4A. We say hello and congrats on the great start to Coach Jerome Rhodes. Coach, life's got to be great. It's October now, and a big showdown awaits your squad against a very good team as well.
Oh yeah, it's going pretty good for us. It's always our our expectation is to go 1-0 every single week and play well enough each week to beat the best team on our schedule. And this week it's Lafayette.
Yeah, Lafayette is certainly no stranger to success, and we know just a couple years back, Andy Lynn led them to a state championship during the COVID-shortened campaign. For you, what year is this for you at Warhill? Is this year number 4 or 5? Where are we at?
This is my 5th year at Warhill, and as you said, earlier, I spent 15 years with Coach Dodson at Woodside.
Right now, looking at the numbers, just incredible what your squad has done thus far in the early portion of the season as far as the points per game. The points allowed, very few. You've kept teams to single digits all year long. You've had some good teams that have gone to the playoffs and even advanced in the postseason. But what's different about this team that you feel like could certainly lend itself to your squad making a run beyond this game, which we'll get to in a minute? But this year, what's different about this group that you see?
Well, this is they've been around for 4 years now. We've got 23 seniors, and 5 or 6 of them have been 4-year starters, and even after that, we've had quite a huge chunk of them, maybe about 10 or 11 that are 3-year starters, and then most of them have started for at least 2 years, going including this year. So this group has been hearing me speak for 4 years now about the same thing. And we don't always get the most talented individuals, and we've accepted that. But it's less about talent and more about the people they are. And I believe great people make great football players, and I got a bunch of great kids. These are some kids that you can tell by the way that they practice, they prepare, and they play that they love football, and it makes it easy for me and my coaching staff to coach these guys.
Yeah, as this ticker is showing at the bottom of our screen, you've got some standouts that have done it for you on the defensive side of the ball. Ashton Gardner, some of those guys we'll talk about, including Isaiah Rambert. But I want to begin with your three-headed monster, your offensive trio that's been putting up major numbers. Liam Francisco made the transition from running back to quarterback. Jaden McAdoo has already got over 400 yards rushing and 7 TDs. And then Talon Edie, who, if I'm not mistaken, is committed to North Dakota State. There's a connection out there that you can fill the audience in on. 8 touchdown catches here in just 5 games, I think it is. Tell me about those 3, because they've really allowed your offense to be prolific and put up 43.8 points per game to this point in the season.
All 3 are very, very special individuals. In fact, Liam, he's committed to Delaware State. And yes, Talon is North Dakota State, and we're still trying to find a good place for Jaden McAdoo, who is an exceptional athlete, very, very explosive, and he's having a great year. And Talon, he's actually although he's headed to North Dakota State, he had quite a few offers, but his link to North Dakota State comes through his brother. His brother was played college basketball for North Dakota State, and it was a standout for North Dakota State. So he had ties there. His father used to work. Taylor Edie's father used to work out that way as well. He was a strength and conditioning coach, I believe, for Wisconsin. So while they were living out there, and Taylor spent a lot of time in North Dakota State, and they were the first school to offer him, and he's a pretty loyal kid, and he really liked the facilities, he liked the coaching staff, and he chose North Dakota State.
Yeah, you got a really great trio there offensively. But I know for you, coming from Woodside, where you certainly learned alongside Danny Dodson, one of the best, too. Ironically enough, you'll be going against this game because he's now an assistant to Andy Lynn at Lafayette. But the offensive line is where a lot of it starts in terms of establishing the run, giving your quarterback time to throw and allow things to happen there. So give those big guys in the trenches that don't get a lot of love and allow the Francis, the Edies, the McAdoos to make the plays, what they've done for you so far and the integral components to that group.
Yeah, and that's where our successes come from, the seniors on the offensive line. We got three seniors in the middle. Jack Baker leading the way at center. Then we got who's a 4-year starter. Gustavo, he's our left guard. He's a 4-year starter, and Anthony Cunningham is a 3-year starter at our right guard. And we're breaking in 2 new tackles with Leland Hudick on the right side, and Nick Marrero, he's a 4-year starter. He's doubled up on both sides of the ball. He played tackle for us, and now Max Shield stepping into that spot as a junior. But they've done a great job in protecting. We have really good athletes, and with the 3-headed monsters you mentioned, but they're not the only ones. But it makes it easy for Lim and Jaden to do what they do with the guys that we have protecting them up front. A lot of leadership there, and as I said before, this is probably the easiest job I've had. Coaching kids. This is a great group that really receives, instruction, coaching, teaching. They're always willing to, to step up. They have an insatiable desire to compete. So I said, it's made my job easier. And I've seen that before when I was at Woodside. We had a really good group, and that was led by Aaron Evans at the time. And we were senior heavy then. And this group reminds me a lot of that group that we had that when we took on. We were region runner-ups in Division 6 at the time. We barely lost one there to Oscar Smith, who was always a tough competitor when we, in Division 6 with Woodside. So this group is a lot like that. And we have a lot of talented individuals. Ashton Gardner on the defensive side is really stepped up for us as a senior. He's a 2-year starter. And then we had a few other guys here on the defensive end playing, doubling up on both sides with Tavion Blockett. He tied the Virginia State record in the with the longest catch in Virginia with 99.5 yards. It was thrown to him last year by our last year's quarterback. But Tavion Blockett and we have a kid Elijah Williams also doing a great job for us on the defensive side. We got a lot of really good football players. R.J. Foskett, who's got, I think he's got 4 touchdown catches and interception against Pocosin. We've got a lot of guys, and I've never had this kind of group of kids, this much talent. But it's homegrown. These guys have been doing a lot for us. Playing running track and all season, and to get better for football. And they can see it. They're way more explosive. So I appreciate all the work that they put in, and it's making our job easy.
It's interesting that you bring up some of those names because I feel like there are some that say, all right, it's a 3-headed monster you got to worry about with Francisque, McAdoo, and Edie. But you have some unsung heroes that are stepping up. Obviously, Baker's a 4-year starter. Foskett coming in from Pocosin. Eli Williams, who's another compliment in the ground game. And Blockett, who you mentioned, is explosive, can take a play over 90-plus yards. Do you feel like, in addition to those returnees you had from last year, the hunger from losing last year's game to Lafayette, that this group has been building towards us? And I feel like one of the early breakthroughs for you that maybe didn't get enough publicity and talked about was the win you had at Matoka, who's a very good Class 5 school on the road. What did that victory do for you at the end of August in terms of preparation for the Bay Rivers District, this matchup coming up on Friday, and then for your postseason journey that'll be awaiting you in November?
Well, it's always something to see when you're talking about playing a tough team like Matoka, who is extremely well coached, well prepared. They've got a tradition of being pretty good, and doing some things in the off season. Great coaching staff. And we had to go there, travel over an hour to get there, and we played them, right in their own backyard. And it was, what it told us is that we could lean on this group of kids as a staff. We could really lean on them. Make things simple for them and watch them go out there and make plays. Matoka did some things that we wouldn't normally see in the Bay Rivers, but we were really interested in playing them because we knew that they had a really, really good football team. They had a couple Power 5 kids out there, and they had some really good size, and they had some really good athletes, some really good receivers on the end. But we felt like, the strength of our team is certainly in our back half, our secondary. We're solid up front. And we felt like we matched up real well against Matoka. And we knew that, playing a team like Matoka early, we would see that type of, that type of offense and athletes, if we get the opportunity to play in the in the offseason, or I should say in the playoffs. And, those are the types of teams that you see. So playing a team like Matoka, really good team, and us, winning the way we did, it really helped to build our confidence in going into not just the regular season, but even the postseason.
You mentioned back when you were at Woodside having those years in the 6A playoffs where it seemed like you'd bang your head against Oscar Smith all the time. You had a couple of really good games in the playoffs too, I remember, with Bayside. But I feel like that breakthrough moment for you all when you were there, and you mentioned Aaron Evans being one of those stand-up quarterbacks that you guys had there, was when you stopped Phoebus's state-long record-setting winning streak back in, I forget if that was 2011, 12, somewhere, I think it was 2011.
2011.
Yep, 2011. I remember being at that game. It was a very memorable, victory, close one, very hard-fought defensive battle. I know you've beaten Lafayette before just a couple years ago. They got some get-back last year in the regular season finale. But how much is it in terms of the district bragging rights and what you're trying to build there at Warhill, this such a possible seminal moment in front of you if you can get this victory in terms of certainly it's going to have some impact for the power ratings. We know Phoebus is the top seed at the moment, defending two-time state champs in Class 3 now, playing in Class 4. You're trying to get a very good home game, maybe multiple home games throughout the playoffs. How big is this moment, and do you see some parallels back to years ago when you played Phoebus? Phoebus and Hampton were the top dogs, and for years, Andy Lynn's had a great program at Lafayette, and they're the top dog in a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's the story I told the kids too, because it's sort of sometimes it's a mental barrier for kids when a team has a tradition of winning and have a really good coaching staff. I mean, and the kids have an attitude that they're not going to lose, and it's hard to break through that when you you have good football players, you've got some talent on the team, and it just takes what's in between the ears to fight through it, and that's the story I told this group here. I said, look, we took a team, right? And Phoebus is, and it's not just, Phoebus is the players. They had really good coaches. I mean, even for that, we at that time, I believe it was Stan Sexton who was the head coach, and I'm not real sure. But the coaches that even that were in the Peninsula District they were fantastic, great coaches that were they were blessed with talent, but they had they always made us better. And I told the kids that I said, listen, we had a team that we only had one player on that team that got a bowl subdivision scholarship. It was one kid, and that was Donnell Lewis. And Phoebus always had really good football players, highly talented individuals, and great coaching. And we felt like if we prepared ourselves well, right, and we go in there with the right attitude, the right mindset, that we're going to go in there and fight every single second, every single hour, quarter. We'll give ourselves an opportunity to win. We have to keep playing and playing the next play, regardless of whatever the success of the play is, or maybe we didn't do so well. It should always be play the next play, and that's what that team embodied. That 2011 team from Woodside. They were extremely hard to rattle. They always fought, and that wasn't the only game that we had a close game with. We had a tight game with Heritage that came. We had to win in the last. It was the last 30 seconds or something like that. So that team was battle tested, and it was hard, to shake them. And that's what I felt like, was a story that needed to be told to these guys. I said, listen, it doesn't take, a team loaded with talent. It takes guys that are willing, all 11 guys that enter the field, take the field, is to fight every single snap, every single down, every single possession, and not waver. You have to continue, whether you win or lose, play the next play and fight, and we'll see where we are, when we get close to the end of this thing. And this group, they've heard the story, and they really believe in each other. They believe in the staff, and we believe in them. So, we can sort of lean on that, and not just with, with Phoebus. We had some battles there with Oscar Smith, and it was always hard, at Woodside, because we didn't really get, some of the talent that Bayside would have, or Oscar Smith would have, or even when we played Ocean Lakes. But we would still have to go. We would still have to go play them, go fight, and we always felt like if we can deal with what's between the ears, we'll give ourselves a chance. And this group is very, very solid in between the ears. Very high IQ football guys. So we're excited about where we are right now, and what's to come.
Yeah, had some tough roads there in the PD when you had the late great Bill D, and then the Stan Sexton. Now Jeremy Blunt continued that tradition with Phoebus. Hampton with the great legendary Mike Smith. And, of course,
Yes.
you guys in Newport News at Woodside. Heritage made some noise. It was very competitive in the PD, as was it in Class 6 with Oscar Smith at the top and Bayside and Ocean Lakes and a lot of great athletes across the board. All right, every game, Coach, we can always boil keys down to simple things like turnovers, the turnover battle, whoever wins the turnover battle, time of possession, red zone, execution, third and fourth downs. But if you were to outline for us 2 or 3 keys for this matchup with Lafayette, and I don't know that they change a whole lot in terms of what they do. I mean, it might look simplistic, but they execute. They're fundamentally sound. They do what they do well, is sort of the old cliche saying. But for Lafayette, how do those keys alter or differ? What are the couple of things you're going to really harp on with your guys as you get ready for pregame and that matchup coming up on Friday night?
Well, the biggest thing there is Coach Lynn. Coach Lynn does a fantastic job, of doing what they do and being patient with what they do, playing good, solid football on both sides of the ball. And the kids, that means a lot. Kids they're well coached. They believe in them and they're willing to be patient there, right with them. So it comes down to, at least what I see, how patient will we be? And then, execution, and then I told the guys that too, is, it's going to come down to execution and focus. Who's going to execute, their offense, their defense, their special teams, who's going to execute better than the other one? That's what's going to come down to when you're talking about 2 really good football teams and one with a high tradition of winning. So it's harder to break through there. But we believe we have a group that can. But it's going to come down to, execution, and then, of course, guys, focusing on the task at hand. It could easily be, a field goal that wins this game.
Yeah, I think you could be right. And looking at the statistics, I mean, both of you guys give it defensively, give it up just 4.4. They're allowing only 7.2. So you get the sense it could be lower scoring. Does that favor either team if it's lower scoring or higher scoring, or do you feel like both squads, in your case, you're comfortable playing any type of game, fast-paced, slow-paced, defensive, special team, whatever it comes down to? Does that really matter? That get thrown out the window when you just line it up on Friday night and it's a tight, down-to-the-wire battle, which is what I'm sure you're imagining it could very well be.
Yeah, it doesn't. It won't make a difference for us. We actually, at least what I believe, and McAdoo has 438 yards rushing. That he's probably had at least just under 300 yards called back. So we really want to be a run-first, football team. But we just have a lot of athletes, and we try to get them the ball in space. And McAdoo, of course, being one of them. But we feel like we can, we can win the game either way, whether it's on the ground or in the air. And I feel like that Lafayette has that ability too. They have a really good quarterback and they have really good receivers. Very, very disciplined. So it could easily. I think both teams are comfortable with winning it either way. But I guess we just have, this year we were very fortunate in the air and we got some explosive guys. And we're not really, we can throw the ball down the field. Sometimes, we throw it out there and it's only about 3 yards. And Taylor and Edie does a great job of, taking a 3-yard pass and getting, extra. And some of our other guys, McAdoo's done it too for us. And like I said, Tavion Blockett, he took a slant and, I think it was like a 1-yard pass and he gained 40 yards on it against Manor. But we just have guys like that. So if we do have to feel like we have to run the ball, we're certainly capable of doing that with the 3 seniors we have, between center, guard, and guard that are 4-year and 3-year starters.
I'll get you out in a fun one or funny one. I sure hope it is. And appreciate your time so much for coming on the show with us. I'm big into doppelgangers and lookalikes. We talk about it on our show on 757 Saturday Sports Talk, the young man from Atlantic Shores who embraces the Napoleon Dynamite lookalike. Before I even met you, someone pointed you out to me and said, because I think I asked the question, which one is Coach Rhodes? And they said, and I don't know I hope this doesn't offend you at all. They said it's the guy that's the Mr. T lookalike. Have you heard that before? A, and B, do you like it? Don't like it? Have you heard any other lookalikes for you? Because that one I heard, and I thought it sticks pretty well for you. Mr. T is one of the all-time greats, so I hope it is one that you don't get offended by.
No, I won't get offended by that. Mr. T is a great man. I don't mind if that's sort of the vibe that I give off, and I've never heard it, but it's been the vibe that I get from players and some of the students that I teach. But I have heard, 50 Cent. That's what I get a lot of, is that, 50 Cent and I are doppelgangers there.
I can see 50 Cent for you, but hopefully you're saying quit that jibba jabba and shut up, fool, and you get a win after the game on Friday night as the Lions stay unblemished. Coach, this has been a real pleasure talking with you, and it's been a joy watching your program grow there at Warhill. You've built it from scratch and doing some terrific things. All the best to you Friday night. I think our man Will Garlick will be out there for VirginiaPreps.com covering it for us. It should be a great battle. Going out there, support the Lions, support the Rams. It should be a fun night for football in the Bay Rivers and across the state of Virginia with Warhill and Lafayette going toe-to-toe. All the best, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, and Ed Young, I wanted to shout out Ed Young. He's absolutely right. It comes down to this game. I don't care what other games that we play and we win. It comes down to this one here, the Battle of Williamsburg here between Warhill and Lafayette. Ed Young is right. Wait till that happens first.
There you go. And
We'll
see. I think we disagree on the pick. So one of us will be right, one of us will be proven wrong, and one will be crowing on Saturday morning. That's the head coach of the Lions of Warhill High School, Jerome Rhodes. All the best. Thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon.
All right. Appreciate you.
We're going to take a quick timeout and come back with more here and finish up on the hash with Hatfield, getting you set for high school football action around the 757 and beyond right here on BeachSportsplex.com, the YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, X, and, of course, streaming all over the web.